Adriyan Karmakar, son of Arjuna Awardee and Olympic finalist Joydeep Karmakar, captivated the shooting world by becoming the youngest qualifier for the senior nationals at just 10. Rising steadily since then, he has firmly established himself as one of the India's premier shooters in the 50-meter event, currently holding the junior number 1 and senior number 7 ranking in the country, with consecutive Khelo India Gold medals in 2023 and 24, alongside a silver medal at the 2023 Asian Championship. The 18-year-old Kolkata boy's accomplishment speaks volume. As his junior career comes to a close, he emerges as a promising contender for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Hello and welcome to the first edition of Beyond Scoreboard, a podcast show where we get in conversation with our young Indian athletes. This is me, Aishwarya, and that's my co-host.
This is me, Swarna.
Let me introduce you to one of the brightest shooters of India, son of the Olympian Joydeep Karmakar. Hello, Adriyan Karmakar. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, let's talk about your performance in the Khelo India since you've come here in Chennai. How was it like?
It was an amazing experience. This is my second Khelo India, and last year it was my first, and it was a great experience too. And this is a new state and new places to hang out. And as a whole, the Khelo India experience is very nice because you get to hang out with all kinds of people from different sports, and of course you get to meet your friends who have been shooting with you.
So, your father accompanied you for this competition, or you came alone?
No, I came alone.
You came alone. So how is it like not having your father around? Because as kid you would have him for most of the show,
generally
right?
I would have him, but for a few years he has not been traveling with me. We have been traveling separately, and for most of my competitions I generally travel alone.
So talk to us about your love for shooting, where it originated and your first memory of shooting when you were a kid. How did it happen? And
so my love from shooting came from just the second I was born. That was all I saw. I was traveling with dad. I used to hang out. My favorite place was just hanging out behind dad. My dad used to practice and I used to look at him. I couldn't see the score or anything, but it was just a pleasure to, watch him shoot. And after that, basically what he used to do is when you shoot and you eject the empty, the empty shell of the bullet, and it ejects. It pops out, right?
Yeah.
And
I
used to collect that and put it in. That was my job.
Okay.
And if my father was in a good mood and there were no people around, I used to shoot a couple of shots from my dad's on maybe a stand, and I used to shoot a couple of shots. And that is where it all started. The smell of gunpowder, and it was amazing. So that is.
So when you first picked up a rifle, it's a bit heavier, like 5 kgs, 6 kgs. So when you were a kid, were you intimidated by the guns, or were you like thrilled? Oh my God, I've got something in my hand. I'm gonna conquer the world. What was the feeling like when you first held the gun in your hand?
So my father was a 50-meter prone shooters where you have to lie down and shoot, right? So I've never really, when I was very young, I never really thought about, standing up and shooting. Yeah. But that is how I started, standing up and shooting, which is standing 10 meter. So I never really related to that from my childhood, but it kind of came to me when I saw other people, and it was the more popular event of the shooting. So when I saw that, it was, my dad bought a gun for me from America, I guess. It was lightweight and everything. And what he has to do is, he had to pump after each shot, he has to pump it 6 times. And the first 3 times was okay, but the last 3 times was very difficult for the pump. And after every shot, he used to stand beside me and used to pump it because I couldn't. So from that, it was a good experience. It was a bonding time too. And I used to shoot with that, and then I moved on to a heavier rifle. So that was the beginner's rifle, which is very light. And then we got a jacket. We wear special canvas and leather jacket for our support. So I wore that, and then I shifted to a more advanced rifle, and then I just upgraded.
Initially, you switched from 10 meter to 50. Why did that happen?
So I always wanted to do 50, right? But it just didn't happen because we didn't have a range in my state, right, West Bengal. So it was very difficult. And 10 meter is easily accessible because it's a 10 meter range and it's indoors. But for a 50 meter, you need a huge
Bigger
range,
range.
bigger range, and it has to be outdoor. And there's a lot of stuff to it. So
So what do you enjoy, the 50-meter one or the 10-meter?
personally, I do like the 50 meter more. And I've always liked the 50 meter more, even when I was a 10 meter shooter, because I have always seen my father do 50 meters because he was a 50 meter shooter.
So any specific reason for not choosing shotgun or any other sport?
I feel like shooting just came naturally to me. It was like I just grew up looking at my dad shooting and, watching shooting and, talking to people who were shooters because I used to travel with him when he used to go out for competitions when I was very young. So it was just all shooting for me whole my life. And
Yes.
that is what really intrigued me. And why not shotgun? Because I mean, like, I didn't really get exposure to shotgun because there were no ranges in my state again.
Let's elaborate on the legacy of your father. 2010 Commonwealth Games gold medalist, 2010 silver medalist in the World Cup. He just missed the bronze medal in the 2012 London Olympics.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about his legacy. Does it add an extra pressure that you're his son and you need to live up to that legacy, or is it adding a strength to you from inside that my father is there, who's also an Olympian, and there's an added support system in place?
I feel like there's pros and cons to that. Pros are he knows the sport, right? He has the experience. So whatever mistake I would have made, he corrected me. So whatever mistake he made, I learned from those mistakes, so I don't have to make the mistakes, right? So he just built the foundation and the base very strong, for which I'm very grateful. But yeah, of course, there's expectations from other people, and but I don't take that negatively. I use that to fuel my hunger for more and for more human excellence, and I think that I use that as a driver.
It's natural that father was in the same sport, so now you've also joined the legacy. Tell me, was there any point where you felt, okay, maybe not, I don't want to go to the same path like my father did, maybe I should choose something else and make my own legacy in different field?
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I did. There was a period of time where I was contemplating whether shooting was the sport for me, because I started shooting when I was 7, right? And after that, I felt like I was burned out, right? It became like a chore to me. I just woke up and there was a range. I used to go there. I just used to shoot for 1 hour, and then I used to come back, and it was just a daily routine for me, and it wasn't enjoyable. But when I saw the results going down, and I used to shoot, and the scores were very bad then. So then I realized, what am I doing? I'm wasting a lot of my time. So is this really for me? But then I had a talk with my father, and he was always very chill with it. He said, you can do whatever you want. If shooting is not for you, you don't have to do shooting. I'm not forcing it. He never forced me to. So, but then I realized I do like shooting a lot, and it was just me, procrastinating, and but I found my love for shooting again.
So what is the coffee table conversation like with your father? Like, do you always talk about like abhi ye next event mein aisa karenge, ya fir kuch aur hi baatein hoti hai?
No, we talk about all sorts of stuff other than shooting too. But we actually, we don't really converse about shooting like a lot of people think we do. We just know, it's kind of like before he completes the sentence, I know what he's talking about. It's that. It's just, he says something and I understand it, and I say something and he understands it. It's like a bond. So I feel like the connection helps me a lot with this shooting conversation. So we don't have to have a lot of shooting conversation, because he knows I know, and I know he knows.
So what is your bond with your mother? Like, my father is a shooter, but then with your mom, what is the bond like?
It's very nice. She tries to understand everything. Even she's a shooter, she did compete, and she's a national level shooter. So she has played in the nationals and 10 meter, right? And we talk about shooting sometimes, and sometimes she tells me, you can, try this. You can, maybe I can't try it, but you can try it. And we just come up with all sorts of crazy ideas. Sometimes we, tell dad about our ideas, and he's like, what are you guys talking about even? But it's funny.
Abhinav Bindra, when he was preparing for Olympics, when for the first time when he went, he did not win, and he thought that he has prepared enough. Yeah, but the situation was such that due to unleveling of the floor, he missed out on the points. But for the next 4 years, he trained, he wired his brain into such way, and he went into the specification that if at all there is external forces, external situations which can cause such disaster, how he should prepare himself.
I feel like it's not just shooting, but in every sport there's damage control. Just like there's injury prevention with fitness, and there's damage control with sports. Sometimes it's just not it. Maybe the pitch is not it. Maybe the weather, the wind is not the wind is very important in our sport, right? So the weather is just not it. Maybe your body is just not feeling it. So what I used to do, what my father used to tell me was, when he used to feel the worst, and he did not want to train, and maybe he was sick, maybe he couldn't even get up from the bed, he used to go train just to feel how it would feel to have a match in the worst day. So whenever I didn't want to go to the practice, that is the time it was I had the most important practice sessions, because that is when I knew how I could perform at my worst.
That's called discipline and persistence. So shooting is all about breath work. Okay, how you're able to control your breath, because a slide can take a 1 millisecond can or just divert the point. So how do you practice that? Do you practice mindfulness, breathing exercises that you do before any game or in general?
Visualization is a big part of a shooter's life. He or she, I feel like it's popular among shooter, and I do that too. I just visualize whatever I'm going to do from the moment I leave my home or my hotel till I reach the range, and till everything is I set up, and till the end of session, after I'm packing and after I box my rifle and pack my rifle, until I get back to my home, I visualize everything before my practice, before my matches. So that, I think, gives me an extra edge and preparation for what might happen or what might go wrong. So I'm ready to deal with any situation.
You've spoken about your father being a great inspiration. So talk to us about some other shooters that you look up to. It could be in the international circuit as well, whom you find that this performance was great. This person really inspires me.
I did do a camp with Petar Gorsa. He's a Croatian shooter, and I feel like I love talking to him about shooting, and he loves talking about shooting too. So we have good conversations about shooting, and he has helped me with a few stuff. And Abhinav Bindra too. I've had the pleasure to talk to him a few times, and it is just every time I talk to him, it's amazing. And
what are the qualities that you see in these shooters and you have imbibed?
I feel like I don't have a very specific individuals in mind, but what I do learn from international shooters is, it is a kind of a technical point, but it is just what Indian shooters are known for is very precise. They are very precise, and they're very disciplined, right? But abroad, you'll see the shooting is not actually their main career, right? They have their jobs, they have their businesses. So shooting is actually secondary to them, but they are top shooters. So that is what I learned, that you can not devote your whole life to shooting and be obsessed with shooting and still be good at shooting. That is what Abhinav uncle also told me, that I'm not really a good student, right? So I was talking to him about it, that I'm not really a good student, and he told me that it is a must that you go to a university and a college and you get a degree, because if you're always thinking about shooting, there will be one point where you'll be thinking about shooting, but you will not do anything productive.
Yes.
So to heighten your productiveness, you have to give time and rest to the shooting thought, and you need to do other things too. Maybe hobbies, maybe education, and maybe other things. So I feel like this point that I learned from shooters abroad, that they have their life outside shooting too.
I feel like you're a very deep thinker, and you think very deeply about every thought, every game, every instance. So what parallels do you draw between shooting and life?
I feel like I learn a lot from shooting about life, and I learn a lot about shooting from life. So it's just two different topics, but you learn so much from everything, that can be derived from life to shooting. There are a lot of philosophical way of thinking about a lot of things that will help you if you derive it correctly, and it will help you with everything, honestly.
You're a Gen Z, right? And this is the world of influencers. So how active are you on social media? Do you have a life, like you said, having a life? So do you have a life on social media which you like to, present to the world, and how much part of it is presented there?
I don't really post a lot of, as you said, I'm a deep thinker, but I'm not a very, I don't think a lot, like I don't post everything I think on social media. Is maybe I have fun with my friends, and that is when I post, and maybe a few things about my life. But that is kind of it. That is where I draw the line.
You were speaking about, earlier that you need to have interests outside shooting for you to be a good athlete, to be a good shooter, to be a great, person in general, all-rounded. So what are some of your interests outside shooting?
I like traveling, and since I travel for shooting, yeah, you might think that it's related to shooting, but I just like traveling and talking to other people and talking to different cultures, right? So I came to Chennai, I went to the beach, and I had a few conversations with a few people. There's a stall where you could win a few stuff by doing archery.
Wow.
So I did that, and I talked to them, and they taught me how to do it correctly because I was horrible at it.
So you can try archery also now.
I mean, I'm pretty bad at it.
Speaking of confidence, I read somewhere about you that in your first state level competition, you went for the 50-meter event without having ever practiced it before in a rain. So what was that experience like of winning the medal before having ever practiced it before at home?
I feel like it's all thanks to my dad, because what he taught me, I didn't even have to lift the rifle up. What he taught me, I would go through this, and that is how you deal with it. That is also again planning and visualization. If you think hard enough, you know what you're going to face, and if you know what you're going to face, you have the time. If you have the time, you have the time to know how to deal with it and figure it out. So I think I did that with my dad, and I talked to him, and that helped me a lot with how to deal with a lot of stuff. Of course, there were surprises throughout the matches, but I feel like shooting, except shotgun, right? Shotgun has a different process, but pistol, rifle, 50 meter and 10 meter, they follow very similar, idea of a process. The process is very similar. So I feel like that I just followed the process, and that helped me a lot.
There were times when you and your father, Joydeep sir, both were going for events. So how would you keep yourself motivated? Like, you motivate your father and then he motivates you. What's the bond like? Or you're like, I'm going to perform better, dad. What do you say before the match?
I mean, it was a very short period, but it was mainly like my dad has, stopped shooting by then. He was just shooting for fun. So he was like, should I go for the match today? I feel like I should just sleep. And I would be like, go, get up. You have to go and play this match. It was just me motivating him, because he was just, he didn't want to, go. He's a comparatively lazy person, right? So he just wanted his sleep and everything. So but it was just fun, competing together.
You seem like a great speaker, and obviously you're a very, very good shooter as well. So what is your greatest ambition? What is your greatest aspiration that you have, that, this is my dream and I want to achieve it?
Of course, one of the dreams is obviously for every sports person, I guess, is Olympics. And I feel like that is just there. And of course that is there, but one of my dreams, which is very close to me and very important to me, is of course, reaching a level of human excellence and, being satisfied, as I was talking about, that the performance, how it goes, actually satisfies me, not the performance and not the result, right? So I feel like when I reach that point of human excellence, when I know that even if I don't practice for 2 months, I know the shooting sports well enough, and I'm as a human being, I'm prepared and I'm mentally strong enough to do this. That is when I'll have that satisfaction.
Yeah, so who is your biggest competitor?
My biggest competitor is Adriyan Karmakar, right? Right. So since shooting is such an individual sport, right? Your biggest competitor is always yourself. you don't really converse with other shooters while shooting or anything. So it's just you versus you. It's just keeping the demons away, keeping your bad thoughts away, and letting your good thoughts in, and not thinking too much too. So it's just a competition with yourself.
Often, you know, the difference between winning and losing can be very, very minute. It's almost, you know, like you can't cross that line, or you know, you just miss
literally
the line.
millimeters, yeah.
Just
so,
the points.
yeah.
1 point, decimal.
Decimal point, yeah.
It's all about decimal here.
So
Yeah.
how do you deal with that situation if you put in your best and even then you don't win or you fail? How do you deal with those situations?
I feel like all shooters go through that. Like there are phases where there was a phase every competition I was either 9th, which is the cutoff mark for top 8 go for the finals. So I was either 9th or I was 4th in finals. And even last nationals I finished 4th, right? So and last to last nationals I finished 4th too. So I think that is a part of the sports, losing and learning from your experience, and of course winning too and handling how to win. So I feel like it's all a learning curve.
What are the next big events that you are aiming for, preparing for this year?
For this year, the next big event is, which I know I'm gonna do terrible at, is next month, which is the boards. Yeah, so
So the Beyond Scoreboard is your school scoreboard, where your
that is the biggest challenge, I guess.
biggest challenge.
Yeah.
We had a fun conversation with you. Your energy was phenomenal, I guess. And I'm sure you're going to make us proud. You're going to make your father proud. And you're going to be the next Olympian. We are sure of that. Well, that was it for today.